In 1802, he wrote a testament. It was called the Heiligenstadt Testament, in which he stated, this was to be read, after his death by his brothers. And he says this, and I think this is very interesting. I'm not word for word on this, but it's something that always sticks in my mind when I'm listening to Beethoven. And he says, can you imagine somebody hearing a flute and saying it's a beautiful flute, but you don't hear anything? Or somebody hears a shepherd singing, and again you don't hear anything? When somebody comes near to me, a hot terror comes over me because I'm afraid my infliction will be discovered. Because how are you going to get commissions if people know you can't hear? And so he tried to hide it for as long as he could. And in this testament, he says that a little more of this, and I would have ended my life. It was only my art that held me back. I felt that I could not leave this world until I put forth all that was within me. And this right here is the Beethoven prophecy. I will grapple with this fate, but I will overcome. Here in this testament, he's thinking about suicide, but he doesn't do it because it's his art that holds him back. Listen to his music now. And when you listen to his music, you hear the hero Beethoven, who takes you maybe from C minor to C major. But now music to him is a moral force. I will overcome. And that's what we have to listen to when you listen to Beethoven's music. What is this struggle? And what will I overcome? And this is why I have tremendous respect for this music. It has a great sense of power and a great sense of winning. And that's why we often refer to Beethoven as the hero. Okay, what about his music, as long as we're on the level here? So Beethoven achieved much success in his life. He had some interesting, he never married. He had his many relationships with women, but that was another inner problem. He never could commit. And he actually had, there's a great story about the immortal beloved, and that is actually a movie starring Gary Oldman as Beethoven. And it is a good movie. Gary Oldman really looks like him, which is really scary. The movie itself is not quite historically accurate, but Beethoven and his immortal beloved had this avid letter writing campaign. So there's our evidence right there. We don't know exactly who it is. We think it might have been a married Hungarian countess. That's a great mystery, isn't it? But he had his immortal beloved, and they're very interesting letters. And there's actually a book, many books actually, on Beethoven's letters where you can read some of these letters. But he never married. Later on in his lifetime, towards his death, his brother Caspar died. And when Caspar died, Beethoven really did not like Caspar's wife, his sister-in-law. And so what he did was he took the sister-in-law to court to try to get the nephew to live with him. Well, he won. The nephew lives with him. And what happened was Beethoven started to become abusive, like his father was with him. And the kid, actually the nephew, tried to commit suicide. And he did not succeed. But this was certainly tremendously upsetting for Beethoven. And Beethoven died in 1827. And by this time, we firmly see that his style is within the characteristics of the Romantic period. He has done the full transition. And a ride in an open carriage in inclement weather brought on an attack of dropsy that proved fatal. He died in his 57th year, famous and revered. A big, different story from that of Mr. Mozart. And so, what did he do with his music? First of all, his music reflects his tortured personality. And so what you're going to get is incredible expression to the point of violence, and we'll see as we look at some of his works how he does this. He gave classical forms and techniques new intensity, meaning the addition of dynamics, the addition of instruments, playing with sonata form, expanding these properties of balance, order, and proportion that we've been talking about with the music of Mozart. We're going to expand these techniques, certainly. The tension and excitement within the music are built up through dissonance and rhythm. New, daring harmonies, rhythm that is driving and creates a tremendous amount of tension. Range of pitch and dynamics, much greater. Beethoven composed in every medium of the time. Certainly he is best known for his 9 wonderful symphonies, many piano sonatas, 5 piano concertos, violin concerto, a triple concerto. He wrote so much, an opera, Fidelio. And we, however, are going to zero in on and get a taste of Mr. Beethoven. But I'm going to put up on TV, and you're all going to go, oh God, do we have to memorize this? Oh no, is it on the test? Oh no, oh no. And so don't be upset. Let me do this first, however. First of all, we separate Beethoven's works into 3 general style periods. Okay? The first style period to 1802, which we consider his quote-unquote classical style, the style of Mozart and Haydn, rooted in the classical period. Middle style period to 1814, we call that the experimental style period. We'll see symphonies number 3 through number 8. This was a very, very productive period for him. And what's so interesting is also a fairly horrible period for him as far as his unfortunate hearing loss. His late style period up to his death, we often call reflective, that he's reflecting back to classical forms and techniques. His late string quartets, I tell you as a string player, I have always been in awe of them because they are almost so extreme, they are so inward that I've been unable to figure them out. I've only had a chance to play a couple of them, but boy, they are really supremely intense. It's supremely intense, and these were written late in his life. So now what we're going to do is we're going to talk very briefly about the symphonies. Because with the symphonies or with the piano sonatas or his string quartets, you can trace his style change. You can trace his style change. Okay? And I'm just going to briefly, and I know you're all looking at this like, oh my God, do we have to know that Symphony number 4 is in B flat major? No, 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 no. I'm showing you this just to give you a little chart. And I'm going to talk about this chart just to give you some idea of this transition before we hear some of his music. The symphonies. Symphony number 1 in C major. Okay, it's about a 20-minute symphony. Okay, no big deal. It is a big deal because the beginning of this symphony, his first symphony written around the turn of the century, begins in F major. Oh my God, sit down. It's all right. It's all right. It's okay. It's all right. It begins in F. So instead of hearing this at the beginning, you hear this at the beginning. Okay? F major, far away from C major. He's also giving a lot to the winds. You hear the woodwind section as a group immediately. F major. What is he doing? Already we see him as an individual composer. Haydn isn't even dead yet. And we can already see this. The addition of woodwinds as a group. They're supportive. We also see dynamics that require crescendo to piano. So you very interesting. Very, very, very dramatic. Okay, his symphony number 2. He's going to change the third movement. We don't have a minuet and trio anymore that's a courtly dance. Now we have a fast scherzo. And we still have it, it's still in 2 sections, and we repeat the first section after the second section. It's still in that minuet and trio form, but now it's much faster and it's called something different. So he's changing the symphony. Symphony number 1 and symphony number 2 were written in his first or early style period. and do show the influence of classicism. But we're already seeing change, mega change. Symphony number 3, the first one written in his second experimental style period, and oh my God, what an experiment. This symphony is a landmark in music. It's a landmark in music, and you're all going to jump out of your seats when you hear this one. He brings in a new theme in the recapitulation. Oh my God! He brings in a new theme, but we're already seeing breaking the rules. And breaking the rules is what the Romantic period is going to be all about. We're just going to love the Romantic composers because they're all going to break the rules. And so it's already happening. This symphony, originally dedicated to Napoleon, but when Beethoven, of course, and everyone else found out he was a bad guy, Beethoven decided not to dedicate this symphony to him. It is called the Eroica. It is very heroic. It is about a 40-minute symphony, so we're already seeing increasing length as well. Increasing length. Experimentation with rhythm, off-the-beat rhythm, accents that are on 2. If you're in 3, an accent on a weak beat is a big deal. The second movement is a funeral march. The last movement is a very expanded theme and variation. So it is a very complex, really amazing piece of music. And as a string player, I can tell you we have to use a lot more muscle. You're using a bigger orchestra, and it's heavy and a lot more muscle. Number 4, B-flat major symphony. And number 5, look at that, his first symphony in a minor key. In a minor key. Something's going on there, and I'm going to come back to that because that's a piece we're going to all listen to together. And then after this very turbulent C minor symphony, all of a sudden we're in the country and everything's dandy. He's giving us a thunderstorm and a brook and all of these wonderful outdoorsy sort of things. Pastoral symphony, a beautiful symphony. Number 7, A major, another happy piece, as well as symphony number 8, another happy piece of music. And then we get to the great, another landmark in music, symphony number 9 in D minor. Yes, we start in D minor, but we aren't going to end that way. We're going to end with adding chorus, soloists, and orchestra, right, to the symphony. So the chorus has to wait, but we are going to talk about that symphony as well. And that symphony is a 72-minute symphony. So we really are expanding. That first symphony is 20 minutes. Symphony number 5, probably about 50 minutes. And then we have a very extended work in symphony number 9. And by 1824, we see we are firmly rooted in Romanticism, the qualities of Romanticism. Okay? And so we are going to start with the piano sonata in C minor, opus 13. This is an early work. And it is subtitled The Pathetique. It is subtitled The Pathetique. Piano sonata in C minor, opus 13. Opus 13. The Pathetique sonata suggests, of course, something tragically passionate. Now think about those two words I just said. Tragically passionate. Those are very strong words, certainly to put on this piece of music. But it is the character of his very famous Pathetique sonata. And it is very impetuous and has improvisational characteristics as well. And I'm going to talk about the same thing in the symphonies. Dynamic explosions, if you will. And the piano, is becoming more modern and more modern every day. And so Beethoven had a lot to do with the piano and with the development of playing, certainly. He wrote this at the age of 27 in his early period. And he created a powerful playing style. And just like I said about Mozart, and he was a great pianist, Beethoven was a great pianist too, but there was a certain power about his playing, and these pieces reflect that. And so we're going to listen to the first movement, which begins as a grave, very slow introduction, and then we're going to burst into an allegro. And this is something he did with his symphonies too, with a slow introduction, right, and then breaking into a faster part of the movement. This adds a lot more drama. So this is the first movement of Piano Sonata in C minor, Opus 13, and it is subtitled the Pathetique. That was the first movement of the Piano Sonata in C minor, the Pathetique, written in 1798. And what we heard in the Grave was an idea that didn't have resolution. That each time he did this motive, it didn't have a resolution. And to us, what happens is our stomachs kind of get really uneasy. And what we heard were dissonant chords that come out of nowhere, you know? Sudden changes in contrast, in dynamics, and in register. And when we get to the allegro, it's a very fast tempo, very, very fast, with syncopations and accents on beats that don't make a lot of sense. And so even early on here, we're seeing quite a bit. And I'm going to say that again. I'm going to say the same things about, well, we heard it in the string quartet that we heard that demonstrated rondo form, right? That this was so. I mean, I can really always pick out Beethoven because of the dynamics. That's the first thing I can always pick up with Beethoven. Now we move to Symphony Number 5, and probably one of the most misunderstood and abused pieces of music. Many rock groups have tried to do Mr. Beethoven, and hopefully I can give you some insight into this work. Again, we looked at our key structure of the symphony, and all of a sudden, bam, there's C minor, right? We just listened to a Piano Sonata in C minor, very effective, and now we're going to hear this, Opus 67, Symphony Number 5, written in 1808. And it opens, of course, with the most famous rhythmic motive, right? Everybody knows it. Whoops. Right? Ba-ba-ba-bum, ba-ba-ba-bum, right off. Right off, this is also very modern. And what you hear is ba-ba-ba-bum, da-da-da-dum, and the conductor can hold you till you're blue. Right there, fermata, and then he does it again. But this motive, what is it? What is it? It's almost like somebody knocking at the door. Right? His fate. This is his fate, and it's right in front of us. And he gives it to you right off the bat. There's no slow introduction. This is how I feel, okay? And it's not good. And we will take another 40 minutes to figure it out. And we will. And we shall win. But it's not after we go through a lot. Okay? And the other thing is, a lot of people don't understand this motive. What's so interesting and so romantic about this motive is there's a silence. If you conduct this motive, it's ba 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 be, da 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 dee. There is a rest, and that creates drama in itself. That you have silence all of a sudden, and certainly when you get into the bulk of the movement, it's very, very interesting. So it's this fate knocking at the door. What is it? It dominates the first movement, and my friends, it dominates the entire work. You hear it in every movement, and what you'll see in the finale is so interesting. You have this C minor symphony, you have the C minor first movement, right? Even in the second theme of this first movement, you're going to hear that, yes, it's a beautiful major melody. We've gone to major, okay, everything's fine. No, it's not. Listen to the basses. Ba-da-da-da, da-da-da-da. We also have, as well, the entire orchestra drops out. We have an oboe cadenza. What's that? What's that? No, 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 right? This is very, very, very different. We also have 3 horns, and it's a new sound. It's a very new sound. He's also going to add trombones. And so we have a new fullness about the symphony orchestra, okay? So listen to this first movement. Listen to your, watch your listening guides, and please take a real close look at this. Dynamics, the way he treats this theme, which is he's ingraining it into our brains. Why? Why? Okay? Symphony Number 5, first movement. Okay, that was Beethoven's Symphony No. 5, first movement. We are in a new realm of musical expression at this point in time, and this is only 1808. He generates an incredible amount of tension, and this tension will be released, but it will be released only in the fourth movement, because we are going to go from C minor, you see, to C major. And we have been waiting for this, and this is our call that we have overcome our problems or our fate. We have grappled with this fate and we have overcome. And what he does is he connects the third movement to the fourth movement. So he connects it right through. And this too is very new, right? He's connecting it through. And he makes a humongous crescendo. And finally we have the trombones, and they state this C major theme with us. And so I believe you have the, let's see, yes, you do, the fourth movement. And so listen to, you don't have to listen to all of it, but I want you to listen to the beginning of the fourth movement, because it is in total contrast to the first movement, okay? Fourth movement. That was the fourth movement of Beethoven's Symphony No. 5. We've come full circle here. We have grappled with this fate and we have overcome. And I couldn't let any of you go to sleep or go anywhere without listening to that last movement, because you can't be stuck in C minor here. This music was something that was very important within him. And so in order to resolve that fate, we must listen to that last movement. And so we've gone from C minor to C major, but it's a lot more than C minor and C major. This was a moral modulation, if you will, a moral modulation. And this gives us a little insight into this great, supreme genius, okay? And we unfortunately don't have on the listening Symphony No. 9, but it is certainly something that I want to bring in and talk about just for a minute. Symphony No. 9, written in 1824, he adds soloists and chorus to the symphony. And he gives us something called words at the end of this symphony. Now, Napoleon has left Vienna. We've had the Congress of Vienna. We have won. And this piece, this last movement of the Ninth Symphony especially, has been a voice of humanity. When the Berlin Wall came down, this is what was played. In the Winter Olympics, this is what was played. Because of these words, let us not make these bad sounds. Let us make good sounds. Let us be one under God. Liberty, fraternity, equality. And that sometimes gets put by the wayside in our human race. And so this, my friends, is a statement. It's a huge statement. And this was Beethoven's victory. And it's, the text is by Schiller. And of course, we have that beautiful, beautiful tune, right? The name of the text was called Ode to Joy. And we often associate, of course, this tune. We call it the Ode to Joy, I believe. And it goes something like this. With that tune that we come to freedom, and that we should all appreciate our freedom, because sometimes that gets lost, and this is an important, important statement. Okay? And so enjoy Beethoven, and it's dangerous music, so watch it. Watch who you play this music with or listen to this music with, because it can put you into interesting areas of your personality. Okay, thank you very much.